please complete a blue speaker card and give it to the officer in the back of the room. Items that are not on the agenda are heard at the end of the voting meeting. Glendale has 7 city council members: Mayor Jerry Wires, Vice Mayor Jamie Aldama of the Ocotillo District, Councilmember Joyce Clark of the Yucca District, Councilmember Ian Hugh of the Cactus District, Councilmember Bart Turner of the Beryl District, Councilmember Ray Malner of the Saguaro District, and Councilmember Lauren Tolmachoff of the Cholla District. This meeting is streaming live on Glendale's Facebook and YouTube pages and the city's cable television station, Glendale Channel 11. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Welcome to Glendale City Council meeting of December 13th, 2022. This meeting is called to order. Roll call is not necessary because everybody is in attendance if you'd take note. Next 2 items on our agenda are the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation is going to be delivered today by Pastor Tom Jelenic. Sir, I hope I pronounced that correctly, of the First United Methodist Church. Gentlemen, if appropriate, if you're wearing a hat, if you'd remove it, if everyone would please stand for our invocation, and if you would please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
Thank you. Gracious God, we thank you for the beauty and joy of the season of Advent and Christmas now before us, especially as it is celebrated in the community that surrounds us. And as we gather this evening to address the tasks that you have placed in our care, we ask that you will grant us discernment and wisdom, that all we do will bless the city of Glendale, enhancing the lives of those who we serve in this community. We ask all these things in the name of the one whose birth we prepare to celebrate, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Pastor, you can just stay right there and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. There you go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank all of you. Okay, next on our agenda is the consideration of the minutes from the November 22nd, 2022 voting meeting. Council members, do you have any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the November 22, 2022? That's almost confusing. Motion to approve the November 22nd, 2022 meeting minutes. Anybody would like to make a motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Appears the ayes have it, do have it. That motion carries. Before I go on, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege. Not the 2 gentlemen that are standing up that are just now sitting down, but directly behind them, all the MIAC, Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission students. If all of you folks, including Ann from our office, if you'd all stand up and be recognized. All right. They are actually a happy bunch. They usually smile a lot more than that. They're very involved. They're from all the districts here in Glendale, incredibly involved in community. And I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Thank you for all the work that you did on the Christmas parade on Saturday. You can all be seated. How's that? All right. We'll move on. Boards, commissions, and other bodies. Can I get a recommendation?
Mayor.
Go ahead.
I move we appoint Moise Gallegos of the Saguaro District to the Community Development Advisory Committee for a term expiring on June 30th of 2024.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Here's the ayes have it, do have it. That motion carries. Ms. Bauer, is that person here?
No, sir.
Okay, so you'll get that person sworn in at a later date.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is items 3 through 22, and item 21 has been removed. The items on the consent agenda are their routine nature. They've been previously studied by this city council at a workshop session. Now, they are intended to be acted upon in just one motion by this council. Do we have any speaker cards for any of the consent agenda items?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 3 through 20 and then item 22?
Yes, Mayor. I move we approve the consent agenda, item 3 through 20 and number 22.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hughes, second from Councilmember Tomachak to approve the consent agenda items 3 through 20 and also item 22. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Here's the ayes have it, do have it, that motion carries. Moving on to consent resolutions. We are going to do just that. I was told that we can go ahead and get them all read, but item 25 will be a separate vote. Is that correct, Councilmember Clark?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay, so Ms. Barr, if you'd read consent resolutions items 23, 24, 26, and 27 by number and title.
Number 23, resolution number R22-119, a resolution of Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, ratifying the acceptance of an award number 15 JCOPS-22-GG-03483-UHPX from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services in the approximate amount of $375,000 under the funding opportunity entitled 2022 Fiscal Year 2022 COPS Hiring Program on behalf of the Glendale Police Department and authorizing the hiring of 3 additional police officers. Item 24, resolution number R22-120, a resolution of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, authorizing and directing the entering into of an intergovernmental agreement with the cities of Avondale, Buckeye, Chandler, Gilbert, Glendale, Goodyear, Mesa, Peoria, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Surprise, Tempe, and the County of Maricopa for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program reallocation and authorizing the acceptance and expenditure of the fiscal year 2022 local solicitation in the approximate amount of $78,673 on behalf of the Glendale Police Department. Item 26, resolution number R22-122. A resolution of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, authorizing and directing the entering into of a funding agreement with the Arizona Department of Housing for Glendale Works. Item 27, resolution number R22-123, a resolution of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, authorizing the renaming of Coyotes Boulevard to Entertainment Boulevard from 91st Avenue to 95th Avenue. That concludes the consent resolutions.
All right, thank you. Do you have any speaker cards for the consent resolutions?
No, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve item 23, 24, 26, and 27 on consent resolutions agenda?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move we adopt consent resolutions 23, 24, 26, and 27.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Turner, second from Councilmember Clark to approve the items 23, 24, 26, and 27 on consent resolutions agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Here's the ayes have it, do have it, that motion also carries. Now going backwards to item 25, Ms. Barr, would you introduce that for us, please?
Resolution number R22-121, a resolution of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, authorizing and directing the entering into of an intergovernmental agreement for automatic aid agreement for fire protection and other emergency services.
Okay, Councilmember Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to explain my vote on this one. Automatic, pardon?
Shall we move it?
She can explain it first.
Okay. Automatic aid is very, very important to all the cities throughout the valley. And it's been in existence since 1976, so it's proven its worth many, many times. And it has many benefits for all the cities that participate. But one issue that the Life Safety Council, which administers automatic aid, refuses to deal with is that of reimbursement for excess calls for fire and medical service outside of a member's community. For instance, year over year, the City of Glendale responds into Phoenix roughly 2,000 times more times than Phoenix responds into Glendale. I would call that a rather large imbalance. Now, almost almost like a slap in the face. The Life Safety Council, in their automatic aid agreement, says the following, and it's Article 2.3, and I quote, "Reciprocity, no guarantee of perfect equity. Participants agree that automatic aid is reciprocal. While this does not ensure that a participant's jurisdiction will receive the exact amount of assistance it gives, it does mean that all participants will provide assistance outside their jurisdictional boundaries, and that the level of service delivered and the decisions made within the automatic aid system will be mutually beneficial to all participants in the system and will maintain general equity among the participants to the greatest degree possible." It then goes on to say that explicitly that there is no reimbursement for services. I believe that this is a situation that has gone on for far too long. I have spoken about it before, and this time I'm speaking about it publicly and doing so by casting a no vote on this automatic aid agreement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I'll move we adopt consent resolution number 25.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Turner, second from Vice Mayor to approve the recommended action. Is there any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilmember Clark, how do
Nay.
you vote? Councilmember Hugh, how do you
Aye.
vote? Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, that motion does carry. Moving on to bids and contracts. Ms. Bauer, would you introduce item 28 for us, please?
Authorization to enter into a recycling services agreement with WM Recycle America LLC for recycling processing services. There are no speaker cards.
No speaker cards, okay. No presentation made. Council members, do you have any questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve item 28?
Yes, Mayor. I move we approve item 28.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hugh, second from the Vice Mayor to approve the recommended action. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Clark. How do you vote?
Mayor, I
Councilmember
will
Hughes.
explain my vote on this one
You
as
would like to
well.
explain your vote. Go ahead.
I will explain my vote on this one as well. It seems like I'm going to be contrary all night long. This and the two items following are 5-year contracts. This provides no continuity of oversight for a council member whose term is only 4 years. So based upon that, I will be voting no or nay on this item and the following two.
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, that motion carries. Ms. Bauer, would you introduce item 29, please?
Authorization to enter into Amendment Number 1 to EBSCO Information Services LLC Agreement for Library Electronic Services and Resources. No speaker.
Any presentation? No? Council members, any questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve item 29?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
motion to approve item number 29.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Eldama, a second from, sounded like there was 5 or 6 of you, so I'll go with Councilmember Hugh. To approve the recommended action, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilmember Clark, how do you vote?
Nay?
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Ms. Bauer, would you introduce item 30, please?
Authorization to enter into a linking agreement with TriStar Benefit Administrators, Inc. for administration of employee short-term disability and sworn employee long-term disability benefits. There are no speaker cards.
Any presentation? No? Okay. Council members, any questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve item 30?
Yes, Mayor, I move we approve the linking agreement with TriStar Benefit Administrators.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Tomachoff, second from Councilmember Turner to approve the recommended action. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilmember Clark, how do you vote?
Nay?
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Land development actions. Ms. Barr, would you introduce item 3.1, ordinance 022-85? And I do have a speaker card on this one.
Ordinance number O22-85, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, rezoning 38.1 acres located south of the southeast corner of Arizona State Route 303 and Bethany Home Road from M1 Light Industrial to PAD, Planned Area Development, for a development plan entitled Bethany Home 303, amending the zoning map, providing for an effective date, and ordering that a certified copy of the ordinance is recorded.
Public hearing is now open on item number 31, ordinance 022-85. Ms. Perry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you is a request for rezoning to a planned area development. Once again, the subject property is currently zoned light industrial, which is classed to planned area development. Here's a vicinity map showing the location of the property, which is approximately 13.5 miles from City Hall, and it's located at the south of the southeast corner of Bethany Home Road and the Loop 303. Here's an aerial map to give context to the subject property. Once again, here's a zoning map just depicting what the current zoning classification is, and the applicant's request is to allow it for a planned area development to allow for mixed use, which would consist of industrial and commercial land uses. Here's a conceptual site plan. I apologize, it's a little busy, but if you look along the east property line, this is where the access points would be. The project is projecting 4 access points. The primary route for the trucks would go north and south, with the secondary access going from Missouri Avenue alignment, heading east-west route off of Cerevel Avenue. Here is a conceptual landscape plan, just to give a better depiction of what the applicant is proposing. The application was heard before Planning Commission on November the 10th. There was one individual who spoke in regards to the application. Planning Commission recommended approval with the stipulations that's outlined in the staff report. And with that, Mayor and Council, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the council? Seeing none. Okay, thank you. Before I go on, I just got a card handed to me from Jack McKinney. Where are you at? Sir, is that on this item?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Mayor.
Okay, yeah, you filled out the wrong card, but that's fine. Did you need to speak on this item?
Only, I think another petitioner's here, and she has something to say about that. I'll reserve my comments if Ms. Garber says something.
Yeah, I can't hear you, so you don't need to speak right now?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, so I have 2 other cards on this item. Cynthia Garber, I hope I pronounced that correctly. And it looks like Tom Howard. The first speaker, I need you to simply tell us if you're a Glendale resident, if you're not in the city that you reside in. If it's a Glendale resident, I just need you to tell us what district you live in. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Could you please pass this?
You'd introduce yourself, please, and then tell us the district that you live in. If it's not Glendale, just...
My name is Cynthia Graber. I live at 7315 North 16th Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, very good.
Mayor and City Council members, my name is Cynthia Graber. I am the property manager of 16601 West Bethany LLC and Blake's Land Development LLC. These 2 properties are north adjacent properties to the proposed Bethany Home 303 project. I am here today to protect my property rights. My first notification of this property was on October 21st, 2022. I promptly called Alex Lerma, city planner, and followed up with Michael Bushbacher. I explained that this was my first notification. I received from the city of Glendale the planning meeting with a yellow card. This is the second time this has happened to me that I have not received any notification from Michael Buschbacher. I was here before, and you know that I had concerns with the east side of my property. He and I spent lots of time together, and I was very surprised that he did not contact me whenever no one had any objections to this process. I manage over 30 properties throughout Arizona. Only 2 times has this happened to me, again with the same planner. I want to say that Michael has been working with me to address my concerns, especially confirming to all of you the ordinance 0278 for the private access roadway being placed east of our irrigation ditch and entirely on the Organics Loop 303 proposed project as approved by the Glendale City Council. Today, my issues concern our Southern Hall Road and our tailwater easement into the overflow ditch south of the Hall Road. We have been using both to operate our business for over 49 years. We are currently irrigating our property north to south. This property generates over $5 million a year. This property is agriculturally managed by Moon Valley Nurseries, a $770 million business. We have been farming this property since the 1970s. This property is certified property by Arizona Agriculture. It took us over 10 years to achieve the certification. This special certification allows us to ship all over the nation. We are the grower and the retailer. If our Southern Hall Road is developed, this will cause us a hardship for our entire operation. Our palms are dug and moved through this Hall Road. It is our only access for our operation. Again, we have been using this road for almost 50 years. All of our tailwater is released into the ditch south of the Hall Road. I expressed my concerns with Mr. Buschbacher, and he said he forwarded my concerns to the owner of the property, and he said he would be contacting me. I spoke with the new owner briefly for less than a few minutes the other day whenever I called him to make contact. He's never contacted me. My attorney is working on the easements, and I am in the process of having a new survey completed. Included in the ordinance 02285 and/or 2214, as it states in the city, because the city's planning department calls it 2214, and on this agenda it says 2285.
I do need you to wrap it up.
Pardon, yes, and so I just want to make sure. Our property rights have been overlooked. So the city has considered the individual property rights and personal liberties of the residents before adopting this, and our property rights have been overlooked. Our Hall Road and tailwater easements have been overlooked. This property means the most to me and my family. My father died in December of 2019. All of his money he used to buy this property. It is my responsibility to protect it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Mr. McKinney, did you need a response?
Yes, Your Honor, just a minute.
Again, if you're not from Glendale, just tell us the city you're from, your name, and you have 3 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Jack McKinney. I'm from Lake Forest, Illinois. Not from a resident here. I've been developing property in the valley for the last 20 years. This is an industrial property, the second one we're going to do in the city of Glendale. I understand, Ms. Graber's concerns. I'm very empathetic to what her concerns are. Clearly, the land she's been using encroached on the land that we're trying to buy. So it's our land. We're paying for it. Actually, $13 a square foot, or almost $5 million for this piece of land she's concerned about, the portion of land. So I think and she mentioned that she had to call me. Well, I gave her my business card at the last meeting and never heard back from her. I didn't have her contact information. We did talk on Saturday. I thought we had a pleasant conversation about trying to work something out with her. I'm empathetic to the concern, but we lose 40,000 square feet. We lose almost $8 million worth of development rights. So I'm concerned about it, and we'll try to work it out with them. But this is a zoning case, I believe, not a question of encroachment of the land. So I think when we go through the design review, our intent would be trying to work it out with the city planning department. But from a zoning standpoint, I think that's what we're here to talk about, is how we get our 38 acres zoned for industrial use.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no other speaker cards. You have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, any other discussion? You have a
I
question?
have some questions.
To who?
To
Ms. Perry?
to Perry or to the lady that spoke. There was discussion about having easement rights, they called on the Hall Road, or the Dirt Hall Road. My question is, where are those easement rights recorded, or what do we have in documentation to show that those are easement rights? Because if they are indeed easement rights, I would have a concern moving forward without addressing that. So I wanted to kind of address that to whoever can answer that question. The word was used, easement rights. I understand where you're getting that from and how you can show this council that you actually own an easement right across that property.
The property.
I need you to step up to the microphone, state your name, sir.
My name is Tom Howard. I'm a resident of Phoenix. I am Cindy's husband. It is a prescriptive easement right they have enjoyed for the duration of what they've owned it. If need be, it would be enforced, but it has not. There has no legal action been filed yet to enforce it. They, as I understand it, are attempting to work out the issue, but the property developer apparently intends to use every square foot that they're apparently buying. My wife, I didn't participate in the conversation with the new developer after the planning committee meeting, but I was under the impression, my wife told me, that thought that they were going to be contacting her. That was probably a confusion on both parts, and I think now they're moving forward. There is no recorded easement on that. It would have to be established in a prescriptive easement, quiet title action.
Okay. And I just have a question for our attorney then regarding this, Mr. Bailey. If we approve this tonight as a city council, and it goes to court and they determine that they do have an easement, then is there any jeopardy for the city? Or, I mean, what would happen at that point in time if we've already moved forward with giving planning and zoning rights?
Mayor and council, when you're dealing about access, that's something that generally does not involve your zoning decision-making. So you're talking about the uses that you as a city would allow. It would be the landowner's obligation and burden to either establish his right of access or to try and extinguish any right of access, but that would not be an obligation of the city. That would be the property owner's obligation. And so noting that later on in the development stages, there would probably be the requirement from the city for that individual to show access to their property. It's their obligation, not the city's.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other discussion?
Mayor?
Go ahead.
That's what has me puzzled. This is simply zoning. It's not design. It's not, certainly not the final design of anything. And as one side has already acknowledged, they do not have any formal easement, nothing on paper. So to establish that easement, they're going to have to go to court, and that doesn't have anything to do with us, with the city. It'll be a private issue between two parties, and the court will decide who has the right to the use of that easement. So at this point, all we're doing is saying, yes, we think it's all right to zone it for industrial, and that's all we're discussing tonight.
Okay, any other discussion? I'll give you one extra minute. Go
I
ahead.
do have an easement for my tailgate water. My tailgate water's an easement with Adamant since 1945.
Okay, ma'am, again, what we do tonight does not
I
affect
know.
that.
I just want you to know that I do have an easement, and it is a written easement on my tailgate water.
Okay.
Irrigation ditch.
Public hearing is now closed. Can I get a motion on item 31, ordinance number 022-85?
Yes, Mayor. I move we pass and adopt ordinance number 022-85.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Clark, second from Vice Mayor to approve the recommended action. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilmember Clark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote? Aye. Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, that motion does carry. Moving on to item number 32, no public hearing is necessary on this item. I'll repeat that. No public hearing is necessary. Ordinance 022-86. Would you like to introduce that?
Ordinance number O22-86, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, State of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Section 9-471, Arizona Revised Statutes and its amendments by annexing certain territory located at the northwest and northeast corners of Saraval Avenue and Olive Avenue in the City of Glendale, consisting of approximately 276 acres to be known as Annexation Area Number 243, amending the zoning map, providing for an effective date, and ordering that a certified copy of the ordinance is recorded.
Did you want to speak?
Thank you, I do.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is the annexation request for a property that is approximately 276 acres in size, located at the northwest and northeast corner of Saraval Avenue and Olive Avenue. As council is aware, the property is currently in the county with a zoning classification that allows for a single-family residential. Upon the annexation, the city would apply the most compatible zoning classification, which also would be for a single-family residential zoning. There is a companion applications that's next on the agenda for a major general plan, as well as a rezoning application to plan area development to allow for a mixed-use development at approximately 4.4 million square feet in industrial space. I will speak to the efforts that the applicant made with the citizens as part of the next item on the agenda. But on October the 25th of this year, City Council heard the blank petition on this item, in which there were several individuals that spoke in opposition. Once again, we'll go through some of those things, highlighting what the applicant did to try to meet the concerns that came up from the residents. Here's the annexation map, just to give context to the subject property in comparison to how it aligns up to other property that's within the city limits. Here is an area map, and with that, Mayor and Council, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the council?
Mayor?
Yes.
I thought she said major general plan. Did you say major general plan amendment?
Mayor and Council, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so for that, no one needing to ask any questions. We have any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
Okay, anyone needing to speak on this item? Hearing none, can I get a motion on item number 32, ordinance 022-86?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move we pass and adopt ordinance 022-86 and waive reading beyond the title.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Turner, second from Councilmember Clark to approve the recommended action. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilmember Clark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote? Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimous. Moving on, well, let's see here. My understanding that Ms. Perry is going to present both the resolution and the ordinance under the number 33 at the same time while in a public hearing, standing on 1 foot. No.
Yes.
Ms. Perry. Item 33.
Resolution number R22-124, a resolution of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, amending the general plan map of the City of Glendale, Arizona by approving general plan amendment GPA 22-05 for property located at the northwest and northeast corners of Olive Avenue and Saraval Avenue. Ordinance number O22-87, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, rezoning 276 acres located at the west and northeast corners of Olive Avenue and Saraval Avenue from RR 45 rural residential to PAD planned area development for a development plan entitled Parkway 303 East, amending the zoning map, providing for an effective date and ordering that a certified copy of the ordinance is recorded.
Public hearing is now open on item number 33. Ms. Perry.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, as I indicated on the previous agenda item, the companion application is for a major general plan amendment as well as rezoning. Just to give context for Council as well as those in the audience, with the major general plan, it is required that the application has 2 public hearings before Planning Commission. One of those public hearings have to be off-site, which the applicant held back in November, and the second public hearing would be the regular Planning Commission meeting on site, which the applicant had on December the 8th. The significance of that is when the applicant did the first off-site Planning Commission meeting, it was informational only. There was numerous of residents to the north of the subject property that attended that meeting. They were very vocal in them being displeased with the proposal and did not want to support it. The applicant truly listened to the concerns that came from the residents. So between the November 17th Planning Commission meeting offsite and leading up to the December 8th meeting before Planning Commission to provide a recommendation of approval, the applicant thoroughly discussed the efforts that they underwent with the county residents, which also incorporated additional stipulations that the applicant staff and the residents worked through to present those before Planning Commission. There's not a need for me to present before council those additional stipulations because they were outlined at Planning Commission. So in your packet, they are correctly written in the staff report and in the ordinance. So the major general plan is to change the land use designation from the regional mixed use. And then also from the medium density residential, there was 2 classification, one which allowed up to 3.5 dwelling units to the acre. The second one allowed for up to 5 dwelling units to the acre. And the request was to amend that land use designation to light industrial. The second request, which once again was upon council approving the annexation, was to rezone the subject property from the RR45 zoning classification to planned area development for the site that is approximately 276 acres in size. Here's the vicinity map. Once again, the subject property being located northwest and northeast of Saraville and Olive Avenues, and it is approximately 13 miles from City Hall. Here's the general plan and the zoning maps just to give additional context. So you can see that for the major general plan, the subject request is in line with other land use designations that is in the area. And the application itself does support several of the general plan's policies and goals. The 2 that I would like to highlight is it foster employment and revenues to the city, as well as it maximizes the freeway and transit service to employment sites. Then there's a zoning map that shows that the request is to rezone the property to PAD, and the PAD request for the mixed-use development is compatible to other planned area developments, PADs, that council has previously approved in that subject area. And then to highlight the zoning application, it shows consistency with the Luke Air Force Base for their Luke-compatible land uses, as well as the consistency with PADs and developments in the immediate area. Here's an aerial map to give context to the subject site. And as you can see to the north was where the subject 12 Oaks Estates is located, where the applicant worked with the residents. The proposed development standards, these are the finalized proposed development standards for council to vote on, is a maximum height of 60 feet. Then the setbacks that would be just adjacent to the residents to the north would be 400 feet. And then the landscaping also for the subject property that's located just north of the residents would be a minimum of 200 feet for the landscaping. additional development standards that are appropriate for the subject site and similar to development standards and surrounding PADs that council has approved. Here is the conceptual site plan. The highlight of this, if you would look at the Building C, that is just south of the single-family residential that is in the county. That is more or less where most of the concerns came from. So I'll put a little more emphasis on the impact of what the applicant did to satisfy what I would perceive to be most of the residents and the concerns that they have. Starting off, I would like to show you the access points. There's 10 access points, 5 on both sides of the road. And then here before you now is to kind of give you an idea of outside of what the minimum development standards show. This is also intended to kind of give you more of a visual to kind of see the impact of what the separation is being proposed by the applicant. So from the back of the wall to the property line, it shows it at approximately 237 feet. From the building itself, specifically to Building C, to the nearest resident, it's approximately 601 feet. And then from the back of the wall to the resident is approximately 400 feet. That is something that the applicant worked with the resident to increase those setbacks tremendously to address some of the concerns that came from the residents. Here is a conceptual landscaping plan. One of the additional items that the applicant worked on to show a greater landscaping buffer. That landscaping buffer is approximately more than obviously 200 feet. As you can see, it goes back to being the 237 feet. And then from the back of the wall to the residence, once again, being approximately at the 400 feet. One of the unique things about the landscaping and the work applicant heard from the residents that, as you can see outlined in red, is a walking trail. So that's a nice, unique amenity that industrial development has proposed to provide something to residents to the north. The item was finally heard before Planning Commission on December the 8th, where Planning Commission provided a recommendation for the major general plan as written, and also a recommendation for approval on the rezoning application with the numerous of stipulations that's outlined within the staff report. With that, Mayor and Council, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Perry, quick question. Wasn't there some ridiculous amount of exceptions, like 18 or something like that, that they agreed to do? I mean, it was a higher number than I've ever heard that has ever been done before. Is that right?
Mayor and Council, I would say that it's one of the most in-depth stipulations that we have for a zoning case. It was an additional 12 stipulations that came into play once the applicant worked with the residents.
Yeah, that's almost unheard of. So it's unique, but it's almost unheard of. So, okay, any other questions? Okay, do we have any speaker cards on this?
No, sir.
Okay, anyone needing to speak on this item? Hearing none?
Sorry. I'd like to speak, if that'd be all right?
I don't know, I can't undo my bang, but I will. Come on up, put your name.
Thank you for undoing your bang.
I do need you to state your name, sir, where you live. You have 3 minutes.
Yep, I'm Brandon Klippel, 1610 West Santa Barbara Court, Waddell. Spoke to the council last time. Wanted to just make a few remarks. We understand most likely the inevitability of the voting to approve this project. So most of the remarks that I'll share with you this evening in the few minutes that I have will be more of a information type of remarks. One of them is just a correction that I think the perception that the community does not oppose this any longer is a misconception. We still oppose this project completely. However, with that, we understand that the inevitability of this proposal being approved is something where we saw an advantage in compromising, working with the developer. The developer's been amazing in working with us. And although it may be for you something unprecedented for 12 stipulations out of the 133 that we actually had, it was not as many as we would have liked. Just kidding, we didn't have that many, but we wanted a lot more stipulations than that. We wanted height stipulations. We wanted more lighting stipulations. We wanted greater setbacks. We wanted more stipulations on all 4 buildings. So there was quite a bit that we still wanted if we saw that it was going to happen that we didn't get. But we understand that there are some unreasonable requests that we have for a developer who is acting in good faith with us and who has been more than honorable and acting with integrity in every step of the way and working, and we appreciate them greatly. And I wanted to bring this to the council's attention just for a couple points, that there are many things that we still don't know about this type of development, and we view it as a process. And we hope that those good faith conversations that we have now publicly bringing to your attention, that will continue in that process of us getting those things that we need, making more compromises, continuing to work with the community, and ensuring that this council does its job, as well as planning and zoning, in making good on the traffic studies, the safety concerns, seeing that we move forward in a way that helps to mitigate other problems and things that may come about through the site plan and designing. So I not see you again, but most likely I will through this process. And we just want to make sure that we publicly make you aware that we prefer it not to happen, but if it is going to, we couldn't have asked for a better partner in this developer. And we still have a lot of room that we have to move forward with and make changes on, and we wanted to make that council aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. Can I get a motion on item number 33, Resolution R22-124?
Yes, Mayor, I move we adopt Resolution R22-124.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Tomachov, second from Vice Mayor. To approve recommended action, is there any other discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I've been following this item since its inception, and I want to publicly commend the developer and the developer's representative and the neighbors. The neighbors are right. They don't like it, but they know it's coming, and they know that the developer has a right to develop that property in a manner that works for them. I have never seen 2 groups work together and come up with a series of mitigative stipulations that help the neighborhood. And what is so sad is there was a companion piece, 303 West, where I encouraged the neighbors to work with the same developer to do similar mitigation measures, and refused. They said no, they were going to fight it to the end, and they got nothing. So all I can say is that I want to commend both the developer, the developer's representative, and the neighborhood for working together in good faith and putting together a project that while it may not be all the neighborhood wants, will certainly alleviate some of their concerns. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, roll call vote. Councilmember Clark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachov, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries unanimous. Now can I get a motion on item 33, ordinance number 022-87?
Yes, Mayor, I move we adopt Ordinance 022-87.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Clark. How do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachov, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries unanimous. Moving on to ordinances. Ms. Bauer, would you introduce item 34, ordinance 022-88?
Ordinance number 022-88, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of a utility easement in favor of Arizona Public Service on city property located on the east side of Cotton Lane, approximately 500 feet south of Glendale Avenue, and directing the city clerk to record a certified copy of the ordinance.
Mayor, members of the council, here to provide staff report this evening is Glendale Principal Engineer Jamie Chapin.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request to approve granting a new utility easement to APS on city-owned property on east of Cotton Lane, approximately 500 feet south of Glendale Avenue. This is the 5-acre piece of property that the city owns out west. Granting the easement will allow APS to extend power to industrial developments currently being developed on the east side of Cotton Lane. So accordingly, staff is recommending approval of granting the easement. Thank you.
Any questions from the council? Hearing none. Motion on item 34, ordinance 022-88.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
I move that we adopt and approve ordinance number 022-88.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Melner, a second from Councilmember Clark to approve the recommended action. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Councilmember Clark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Melner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimous. Mr. Bauer, would you introduce item 35, ordinance 022-89?
Ordinance number 022-89, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, Arizona, amending the Glendale City Code, Chapter 24, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Specific Parking Prohibitions, Section 24-68, Parking on Residential Lots, C and D, and setting forth an effective date.
Mayor, members of the council, here to provide staff report this evening is Rick St. John, Deputy City Manager.
Evening, Mayor, members of the council. This is a request for council to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 24, specifically Chapter 2468, or Section 2468 as it relates to off-street parking. When the code was originally adopted in June of 21, the lot size distinction between a large lot and a small lot was changed to 8,000 square feet. In enforcement and reviewing it, staff believes that for consistency in the UDC, it should be changed back to 12,000 square feet. In fact, later on in the same chapter, specifically under Section E of 2468, there is a distinction that calls out the 12,000 square foot lot size limit. And then in the UDC, of course, SR properties that are typically larger than 12,000 square feet, SR 12, SR 17, SR 30, they're treated differently in the UDC than, say, R1 properties going from R14 to R110. We currently have a council item of special interest from Councilmember Turner on circular drives and limiting the availability to park on circular drives for any longer than maybe just unloading groceries or something like that. Certainly able to maneuver on those, but not park on those smaller R1 designated residential lots that do not have a PRD or a PAD overlay. So we do have some R17 lots in the north end of town that have a PRD overlay, which would cover them as far as that provision or what might move forward on that council item of special interest. But moving back to the 12,000 square foot in this section of the code just provides that consistency and that ease of understanding for your constituents. Secondarily to that, in the same section, there is a statement about where the continuous width of a driveway is measured, and currently it states that it's measured at the front setback, which is typically several feet onto the private property, and code is not allowed into that area, so we're asking that be amended to say at the front of the property line or where the city's easement abuts the private property. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Mayor?
Go ahead.
I wanted to make kind of a statement more than a question. Some time ago, when the Code Committee was in play, we made this change to 8,000 from 12,000. We studied the parking situation in the city of Glendale for over a year and a half on this committee, just the front yard parking. And during that discussion, we determined that there were a lot of lots in the city of Glendale that technically were out of compliance because they were not allowed a full 40 feet of driveway. And many of these lots had a 3-car garage and then an additional driveway next to that that would put them out of compliance. And as we studied that as a committee, we determined that that did not look bad. we felt like it looked appropriate, and so we changed the rule from 12,000 down to 8,000 in order to bring into compliance those properties that were out of the compliance at the time. What this ordinance will do is it will take it back out of compliance, take those individuals back out of compliance. And I understand there may be some instances where our more restrict rules puts people that were in compliance out of compliance. And I understand that, and that there are some instances of that, but I believe that for the better good of the city, that we should leave the 12,000 or the 8,000 foot rule rather than change it back up to the 12,000. And so, if I may, Mayor, I would like to make an amendment to this ordinance. And I don't know where that's appropriate.
Well, do you want any discussion before you do that?
Sure, if there's any additional discussion regarding
Any other discussion on that?
I worked with Councilmember Malnar on the Code Committee, and I concur with your representation of what the committee did and expects. Thank you.
Okay.
I guess you can.
Well, I would move, Mayor, that we strike the 12,000 square foot requirement and leave it at the 8,000, both in section 2468C and 2468D, and leave in place the verbiage regarding the property line, scratching the word setback, so that the property line is properly measured from the property line and not from the setback. I believe that this is an item that we may need to bring back again at some point in time, once we discuss circle driveways, for example, and once we have other discussions about issues that come forward to the code compliance officers and management, that we might be able to then address those all together. Right now, I'm just not comfortable making the change, and I would ask for that amendment.
I second that amendment.
All right, Mr. Attorney.
My recommendation would be to put the original motion on the floor and get a second, and when that is on the floor, then entertain any amendments at that time. So if you wouldn't mind, Council Member, when that occurs, if you then provide your amendment, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, did you have something? You look like you want to say something.
I suppose I'll wait till the motion's moved.
So would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 35.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
No.
No, point of order, point of order.
I would
That's
like
right.
to make
We want to go ahead and amend it now.
Now would be the time.
Okay, Mr. Milner.
Yeah, I'd like to make a substitute motion to
Mayor, point of order.
Amendment.
I'm sorry. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion to scratch the word, the 12,000 square feet and reinstate the 8,000 square feet in section 2468C, first sentence, and 2468D, first sentence.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the amendment and a second, so we're voting on that first, and then we'll vote it as amended.
Correct.
If it does pass, correct.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion to the amendment?
Mayor, thank you. I would rise in support of the amendment. I think we can address this at a later point more holistically when the UDC comes for us and after we've had the Circle Drive conversation and those sort of things, that 8,000 versus 12,000 square foot question. But I do fully support the bringing of the measuring of the width of the driveway back to the city right away, the property line where our employees legally stand and measure the driveway. So I believe that the amendment that's been offered accomplishes both of those aims, and therefore I would support the amendment, and then the motion as amended if the amendment passes. Thank you.
Okay, so to be clear, we're voting only on the motion to amend.
Correct.
So no other discussion. You've heard the motion, you've heard the second. Do I need a roll call vote on this or just a voice vote?
Your preference.
All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now before we go on to the amendment, or the bill as amended, Mr. Wilfong is here wanting to speak. Mr. Wilfong. I didn't forget you. I'm trying to navigate 50 things up here.
I was trying to keep my mouth quiet.
Okay, so you've heard the discussion on the motion and amending.
Can you focus in on this?
Okay, sir, state your name, district you live in, you get 3 minutes.
Warren Wilfock, Ocotillo District. What Councilman Malner said, yes, the code compliance, or the code committee was trying to get everything in compliance. And if you, everybody gets their paper there, I'm gonna kind of like go through how we ended up with 40-foot driveways. If you bring up the ordinance, this one there, the first one, and if you look at R1, you can see that the double car garage and the auxiliary driveway equal to 30 feet. If you look at the R2, that has the 3-car garage, but the auxiliary driveway is actually landscaping, but you had access to your back gate. What happened was, if everybody, can you watch this video? What happened was that residents concreted those landscaping areas. So everybody ended up with a lot of 40-foot driveways, when clearly it says the zoning ordinance is 30. So it was never enforced for the last 7 or 8 years. And now there's thousands of properties that have 40-foot driveways. So when I talk about the 8,000 rule, or 8,000-foot rule, if you take a look at the, man, I got my papers messed up. Maricopa County Assessor. This property right here, that's on there right now, is 8,600 feet, and it has a 40-foot driveway. The property next to it has a 40-foot driveway. This is why we picked the 8,000-foot, because there are thousands of properties that, from 8,000 above, have 40-foot driveways. And the intention was to put them in compliance. So the question is, I have for Mr. St. John is, if the 30-foot rule goes into place, does the 10-foot extra feet considered non-conforming? Where'd he go?
Well, your time is being used up, so.
Okay, so and the other part I want to say real quick here, if you take a look, you get into properties that have grass still. And if you leave it at 30 feet, and this was in Council Members Chamachoff and Council Member Clark's district, if you leave it at 30 feet, does this resident not have the access to have a 40-foot driveway anymore? So you're restricting them to expand? And the other part of this is that it allows people to have park more without having to park in the front yard, which was the other goal of the code committee. So thank you very much. And one quick thing on the circle driveways. On the 12,000-foot driveways, if you look at these papers right here, they were large lots, and we had to identify it with the code committee to put it in compliance. These lots that were over 12,000 foot had circled driveways. So we had to put it in compliance. And that's the reason why we identified it at 12,000 and larger. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wilfong, my only question for you, sir, is are you good with the motion as amended?
And I totally agree with it. It should have been that way. It benefits every resident.
All right, very good. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, you've heard the motion. Second, to approve the recommendation. Any discussion? No. Roll call vote. Councilmember Clark, how do you vote?
As amended, aye.
As amended. That was an aye?
As amended, aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Hugh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Milner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomachoff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor, how do you vote?
Yeah, explain my vote.
Go ahead.
I'm voting aye. However, this was also the recommendation of the hired consultant that the city hired to work with alongside with the committee, and I vote aye. Thank you.
And I'll explain my vote. We ain't done. This thing's gonna keep coming back forever. It's like a bad dream. It just doesn't stop. But people are trying to make it as good as they can, so. I vote aye. Motion passes. Council comments and suggestions, starting with Councilmember Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 3 quick things. Merry Christmas to everybody. This is our last meeting of 2022. I wanted to thank staff for all the tremendous things you've done for the residents of the city this year. I know they don't know they appreciate it, but they do appreciate it. And I know I and council appreciate it tremendously. Also, Merry Christmas to all the citizens out there. Don't drink, don't drive. Don't text, don't drive. And have a safe and happy New Year. Secondly, my district meeting was very, very good, and I want to publicly thank Dale Adams of Desert Diamond Arena. It used to be called Gila River Arena, but now it's Desert Diamond, and staff for making us so comfortable and warm, even though it was outside. And they provided wonderful food. Everyone that was there enjoyed it and would like to meet there again, so that's what we're going to do next time. Lastly, congratulations to Council Members Tomachoff, Turner, and Aldama for their re-election victories. I look forward to serving with them again for the next 2 years, even though they'll be here 4 years. I'll only be here 2. Thank you.
Councilmember Hugh?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the Mayor of Glendale for the parade he created, I guess, 9 years ago, and it's still going on strong, and it was a wonderful Christmas parade again this year. And I know the students out there were a big asset to you. I had a couple of them decorate my truck up, and I wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Councilmember Milner.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays, and be safe. Thank you.
Councilmember Tomachoff.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank the residents and the staff that came out to the Cholla Holiday Mixer last week. We had a good time. Thank you for we had 3 staff participate in the Ugly Sweater Contest for 3 prizes. So everybody wins. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? So I just want to wish everybody a safe and happy holiday. I think what Councilmember Clark meant was don't drink and drive, not don't drink. So feel free to drink as long as you're not driving. Thank you.
Except for the MIAC students, don't drink. Councilmember Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. Just take a moment to wish the residents of my district and residents citywide happy holidays. I'll just make it short and say celebrate safely, however you choose to celebrate. Wish you all a happy new year as well. And just want to make sure that our staff knows how much we appreciate the hard work they do, and hope that they have a joyous holiday season with their families as well. And to each of you up here on the dais with me, I wish you the same. Happy holidays. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. December 2022, today will be my last day serving as the Vice Mayor. It's been my distinct honor serving our residents and the residents of Glendale and the Ocotillo District in that role. I want to thank the Mayor and my colleagues for appointing me to that role. It's been absolute pride of my career serving for the last 8 years, something I'm honored to have done. I thank you and appreciate the trust you've put into me to serve in that role. And then I'll serve January 23 will be my formally last meeting as Vice Mayor, but today in 22. So I want to thank you all. I appreciate your trust. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, and then I guess my comment was Saturday, if you weren't able to attend our Christmas parade, I believe it was the largest one we've had so far. I think we had, I believe, 109 entries. The parade was so large that they actually got jammed up. The very last third of the parade entries didn't get out in time. The people at the end of the parade thought the parade was over and started leaving before the last third of the parade started coming, because it had already been going for almost 2 hours. So it was pretty huge. The benefit to that, not only bringing people into Glendale where they get to celebrate Christmas parade. They get to spend time with their families. At the same time, they bring dollars to downtown Glendale. They bring dollars to our merchants, and people like that hometown feeling. And I've had that told to me time and time and time again on when they come here for the Christmas parade. It reminds them of back home. And, that's a compliment. It really is. At the same time, we helped Hope for Hunger Food Bank. We helped the citizens of Glendale who are needy through donations that are made with canned food. The city of Glendale itself, a lot of different departments have stepped up and done food drives within the city. And we're still not finished yet. The donations that were given for the Christmas parade, after we figure out all of our expenses, all the additional money then goes back to Hope for Hunger Food Bank to feed the needy the rest of the year as long as that money lasts. So last year, besides giving tons and tons and tons of food, we also handed a check for $30,000 to Hope for Hunger. So it does a lot more than just simply provide entertainment for a couple hours. It provides a sense of community, a sense of spirit, a lot of pride in the community, and it helps people, and it makes a difference in people's lives, which is the very motto that we live by. So I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, but wait, there's more. We actually have a ceremony here in 21 minutes, so if you don't have to leave, stick around, and you can be part of the ceremony of swearing in 3 council members. For an additional 4 years. The MIAC students are here to help with that as ushers and usherettes. We're talking over here, come on. At any rate, if able, stick around. If you're unable to, then we understand that. We hope that you have a joyous new year. Keep it safe. And we have a couple things left to go, and that is our citizens' comments. I have Warren. Warren, your writing looks like a doctor. I cannot make out your last name. That doesn't look like Mr. Wilfong's.
I heard that one along.
Okay. All right, sir, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
I won't even take that long. Ocotillo District, Warren Wilfong. Just a couple of things. When this UDC comes into place, this is the time to make those amendments to your parking ordinance. Don't wait. Don't try to change afterwards, because it will be almost a nightmare to do it. The second thing is, I'm like you said, Mayor, this is going to come up probably again, and council members, get lost in this. I've been doing this since it was born, I will say, and I understand it thoroughly, and I don't know how citizens can participate in a workshop to see the other side, because you're only hearing one side. There's a whole nother side to it. And I would love to see how in a workshop citizens can participate in those subjects. I don't know how that's done. I don't know if it's a rule or whatever. Last thing was, you're right, the parade was great. That was my first one. I was totally impressed. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. And everybody have a safe Christmas.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And then finally, Mr. Baird. If you would, for the record, state your name, your address.
Sure.
If it's in Glendale, the district, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
James Baird is my name. I live in the Ocotillo District, 6014 West Gardenia. Director of P24 Ministries. And you know what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So, but I did want to take this moment because it is the season, right? Isaiah 9:6, starting in verse 6. For a child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders. And his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, or Father of Eternity, Prince of Peace. There will be no end to the increase of his government or of peace on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will accomplish this. This was written 700 years, give or take, before Christ, but ultimately fulfilled in Jesus Christ, becoming man, born of Virgin Mary, living righteous life, dying on the cross for sins, and rising again, all authority in heaven and earth given to him, and he must reign until all his enemies are made his footstool, which is really the foundation of what I come here to address pretty much every time I come, which is the issue of abortion. And I wanted to talk to you guys about, I've been talking a little bit in the past meetings about what the responsibilities are of the lesser magistrate. And tonight I wanted to make a suggestion of what I would like to actually see you guys do as a city council, at least as a first step, which would be to pass a resolution, not an ordinance, but a resolution that would call upon the state legislature to not only enforce the ban that's already on the books, but to go beyond that and make a ban that is also equal justice. So the complete ban in Arizona right now, it's wonderful, but it is not one of equal justice. In other words, it doesn't treat the murder of children, like the murder of these babies, like it does any other murder that's on the books. So a ban of equal justice would be one that would make the murder of the babies equal to any other murder that would be prosecuted. So I would encourage you as a council to make a resolution that would call upon the state to make legislation of equal protection, and then would also call upon and ask the chief of police with these laws to make those laws, calls about those laws, a priority. And that would be my encouragement to you as your responsibility as a lesser magistrate as first steps in bringing righteousness to Glendale. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There being no further business before the council for this voting meeting here tonight, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. There's no objection from this council. This particular meeting will be adjourned, and we're going to be re-adjourning here very, very soon in 16 minutes. So with that, good night.